Henry Cavill being replaced?
My thoughts are it's not guaranteed yet. I read again that him and his agent and Warner Brothers, whoever the fuck it was, all came out and said that they have a great relationship, and none of them confirmed it, basically.
And he didn't confirm it either.
Yeah.
All I heard was something about a cameo in Shazam that fell through or some shit.
And then I did hear about, two other things I did hear about was that they were trying to base it around Supergirl, and Superman would be an infant, but I don't really understand how that's going to play in. If they keep any of the current canon, they'd have to go back in time and just be like, what, Wonder Woman and Supergirl in the early 2000s? I don't get that part, but... The other part was they were also looking at maybe Michael B. Jordan taking over as Superman.
I heard that.
Which is
that's
interesting to me. It's kind of like the Idris Elba as James Bond. There's nothing wrong with the concept other than the fact that, the weight of history is the other direction. But,
Well, yeah.
If the actor can carry it, the actor can carry it. I had issue with Valkyrie being changed out because, it was like, blonde, blue-eye, old Norse people. They were all blonde, blue-eyed, white people, basically. But she killed it, and I love Tessa Thompson.
Me too. She was awesome at it.
And then Idris Elba was already cast in there as Heimdall. So it's like, So, it definitely could work. I just, I don't know if we're getting to that whole diversity casting thing or whatnot, if that's becoming more of a thing, or... But again, I think Michael B. Jordan could handle that role. It's interesting that for him to become an iconic role versus like creating something unique like he did with Killmonger. Some kind of completely unique superhero would have been, maybe more interesting. I don't know. But Superman is, I don't know. Henry Cavill was a really good Superman, in my opinion.
No, I enjoyed him too. I thought
Zack
he was
Snyder
great.
Completely fucked it all up. But beyond that,
Welcome to the Discord Accord, guys. We are just talking about the news that broke about Henry Cavill possibly being outed as Superman. I don't like the character Superman. I've never liked the character Superman. Even as a kid, I was like, this is a shitty cartoon. I don't want to watch it. He was too, earnest or some shit. Like, as a kid, man, I loved Deadpool and The Punisher and Batman. Like, I didn't really like wholehearted character or wholesome characters like Spider-Man and Superman. They just got on my nerves.
Captain America.
Actually, it's funny. Now he's one of my favorites. But
interesting enough.
But yeah, so basically news broke that he is out as Superman, and like we just said a minute ago, I like him as Superman. Like when you look at Superman in the comic, I feel he embodied it. Like we even talked about it a couple weeks ago, like that even the jawline and everything. Yeah. The dude looks like Clark Kent. He looks like he should be Superman. Yeah. My personal thought is if this isn't real, like if this isn't something they're actually doing, it is just promoting people talking about. It's getting to talk about Shazam, and getting them to talk about DC in general. Because honestly, giving him the boot would make zero sense. I understand Wonder Woman was very popular, which is why they would want to push the narrative to Superwoman. I get that. I also get
Supergirl.
Huh?
Supergirl.
Sorry.
You can only have Supergirls apparently in these fucking comics.
And I also get Michael B. Jordan being insanely popular, but also. I would be surprised if Marvel let that happen. Marvel would be like, look, we've got big plans for you to play a different character. We'll give you a lot of money.
Marvel's never actually had anybody play different characters.
I know, but I don't see them not using him again. He was too popular. Either they're gonna figure out some way to bring Killmonger back, as crazy as that sounds. They're going to figure out some way to get him back in because that movie was too popular. Black Panther was too popular
but just
to let them walk away.
I don't know. I don't know.
I hope you're right.
It's going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting, dilemma for Marvel to have whether they actually go against what they normally do, and bring back dead characters.
Also, let's not forget. Not to get into spoilers or
you died pre-snap, so
not to get into spoilers or talk about Infinity War, so I'll just mention this. We don't know what's going to be undone.
That's true.
We don't know what's going to be changed in the next movie, so I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting, but either way, I really hope Henry Cavill is not, because in my opinion, he was the second best thing about DC next to Ben Affleck as Batman, whom I loved as Batman.
Ben Affleck as Batman, here's something that you may find interesting that I think Ben Affleck as Batman was a better casting than Henry Cavill as Superman.
I would agree with that simply because Ben Affleck carried it so well. He got through into that really cool Dark Knight scenario where he got to play by a different set of rules than previous Batman. Batmans? Whatever the plural of Batman is.
Batmans.
Yeah, Batmans. I'm not taking anything away from Gal Gadot. She's fucking awesome as Wonder Woman. Yeah. I'm just saying. Like,
no, I also think it's awesome that Ben Affleck's Daredevil character got his blindness cured so he could be Batman later in life.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Nobody wants to fucking talk about his Daredevil movie. No, but also I'm sick and tired of hearing he's out as Batman. They've been talking about it for over a year.
Well, that's the same. Like, that's actually an interesting point because them saying that Cavill is out is the same as Batman's out.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Every rumor that you hear across the board, Ben Affleck's out as Batman. No one's confirmed it. Now it's Henry Cavill's turn, however you say his damn name. And now he's every source that I've read and that you've seen and read says that he's out, except they're not. They're all denying.
Yo, everything's a big question mark. Warner Brothers issued a statement. Henry Cavill posted something on Instagram or Twitter. I have not looked at it, but apparently it's very like a mystery. Like nobody knows what it means. I will not be surprised if it happens simply because Henry Cavill wants to make more things. He wants to do more. I think Mission Impossible opened a lot of doors, and it reminded people he was around because his previous movies, Man from U.N.C.L.E. was a big flop.
Interestingly enough, they're saying it's becoming a cult favorite.
It is? That's interesting. I have not watched it. Yeah. I just never liked the TV show.
They were saying that basically the buzz from his Mission Impossible role and his and the fact that the Man from U.N.C.L.E. is becoming kind of a cult favorite. Basically, he's kind of outgrown his contract, and instead of him being put in as the third stringer or the backup character in a string of movies, then they never gave him the Superman movie follow-up that they promised him 4 years ago or whatever. So he's just kind of waiting in the wings doing cameos. And it may be a power play by him and his agent saying, I'm tired of doing cameos, I won't be in Shazam, make a second movie. And Warner Brothers is like, well, we'll just release you. And they're like, okay. And then Warner Brothers is like, oh shit. So it could be something of that nature.
That's a very valid point. Like if they're trying to, because the only reason I'm going to watch Man from U.N.C.L.E. is because he was good in Mission Impossible. I don't think he can act.
Have you never seen it?
I've never watched it.
I actually found that movie quite good.
I like Armie Hammer.
Vikander. What's her name?
Alicia Vikander?
Yeah. She of course kills in that movie.
I like her and I like Armie Hammer. Yeah. Armie Hammer's. He's a badass dude. So I'll watch it. But honestly, I don't like Henry Cavill as an actor. I don't think he's very good.
Right.
I think he has the personality of a cardboard cutout, which is why I thought it fit him well for Superman. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to get too much into that. We are going to talk about DC at some point.
Just one last little thing on that. His role in Man from U.N.C.L.E. is actually not that typecast. So you might actually find it interesting from that vein.
That'll be interesting.
He has a little bit more life to him.
Well, let me tell you real quick. The movie that introduced me to him and left just an awful taste in my mouth. Good God Almighty, was that a shit movie, man? That was what's his fate, man? Who was that director? The dude known for super stylistic stuff.
It's like Zack Snyder style.
Yeah, I'm gonna look his name up because, dude, the guy has a ridiculous history with making movies that look really good. Yeah, Tarsem Singh. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing his name incorrectly. Anyway, I believe he's the guy that made The Fall.
With Lee Pace. I never saw that, actually.
Lee Pace was in The Fall? That was a foreign movie.
I thought The Fall was the one where it was all super colorful and he was like an injured soldier and his little girl involved in it or some shit.
Possibly. I haven't seen The Fall in forever. I just know it was beautiful. I'm looking it up right now to see who's in it. Yeah, Lee Pace was in that. Yeah, good call. Okay. Yeah, that was an awesome movie. Anyway, so I went into The Immortals thinking it looks cool, but man, that movie was just some kind of shit.
It's funny. It's like I am not as harsh on movies as you can be, but I just didn't like it because they jacked with mythology. Honestly, that was my whole thing. Was I had issue with the whole what they did with the gods.
Well, I have issue with what they did with the gods. I have issue once again.
The Titans are just these weird clone creatures.
Yeah, and that is not the case. They're fucking terrifying and giant. Yeah. Either way, no, I didn't like the movie, so that I just kind of forever wrote him off because he was terrible in it too. So, either way, the other bit of movie news that just dropped, something we talked about on episode 2, I believe, which is why it's relevant. Venom will officially be rated PG-13, and the studio has said it is because of future cameos and a possible face-off with Spider-Man, and that would be impossible if they made a rated R movie. Which leads me to think, once again, not to go off on a huge rabbit trail here with this subject, is that their roundabout way of saying Marvel will never give Deadpool a scene in an X-Men movie that is rated PG-13 because of what he's created?
I completely and utterly disagree with that concept that they make a rated R movie and they can't have a cameo.
That's just what they're saying. I don't know. I don't know one thing or the other. I just know that it.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Well, the thing about
what's the history on that?
Well, you're also talking about what I didn't think about was two different universes, and not like basically in terms of if they made Venom rated R, it would have been super dark and super violent. Deadpool's violent, but he's violent and is really funny. And the main reason it's rated R, aside from violence, is language. So they toned his language down. They could fit him in an X-Men movie.
Yeah.
But it really just depends on where things go.
And if they wanted to keep in the vein of Deadpool, they could put a shock collar on him at the beginning of the movie, and every time he tries to curse, it shocks him. And that's why he can't actually curse during the whole movie.
But my thought is on that, just real quick, is he may cameo, but he will never headline an X-Men movie. They're going to keep him on the side with X-Force and Deadpool movies. I don't think he'll ever be in a real X-Men movie. That's my personal opinion.
Well, you got to remember that I'm from an era where he never was an X-Men. I mean, I stopped reading the comics before they put Deadpool as an X-Men. There's no reason he should be an X-Men, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I think he should.
X-Force is even pushing it because, I mean, they were a little bit... Because X-Men's all about mutants, and he's not a mutant.
Well, X-Force
They want to call him one in the movies, but he's not. He's an altered human.
X-Force is just funny. Obviously, it's like a funny derivative, the same way Deadpool himself is a funny derivative. Like, it's just... Yeah. So, I mean, I like the concept of an X-Force, especially with the way they did it in Deadpool 2. Anyway, Venom PG-13. We knew it was coming. I'm still not happy about it. Still think the movie's going to suck, but I'm going to watch it. Right now, it's projected to make huge money. They're projecting like $70 million, which is a big thing because I follow slashfilm.com. I've followed them for over 10 years now, and I trust them pretty good. And they were talking, basically everyone thought the movie was going to flop. So the fact that it's projecting 60 to 70 million could be a lie, or it maybe is. I mean, I will be surprised if that movie makes $70 million.
Yeah. Wow.
But I mean, I don't know. Anything's possible. It's show business. I'm just not really happy with that. But, yeah.
How is Deadpool canon in the X-Men universe? Has anybody ever said that he actually is in that universe? I mean, in the original movie universe, like with Logan and...
Oh, no. The only thing we have is X-Men Origin. And if we go off of... not X-Men, Wolverine Origin. Yeah. If we go off of that canon, he's dead.
Yeah.
So, like... I don't know how they would even do it.
Because, I mean, like, obviously they're flirting with that, with having Colossus and the X-Men and the cameo in the Deadpool 2 spoiler.
But also, did his thing post-credit, did it really affect anything? Was it to be funny? Yeah. Or was it their way of saying, we've erased that version of Deadpool, and he's going to be in future movies?
The whole point of my question, though, is actually something completely, not off on a tangent on that. Is the reason I'm curious about whether it's been spoken as canon was because of the offhanded introduction of aliens with Shatterstar. Shatterstar was an alien.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, you're from another world. He had green blood. They've never mentioned aliens in the X-Men universe, ever. Like, so it's just like, oh, and by the way, there's aliens now. It's like, well, that's fucking news to me that there's actually aliens in the X-Men universe.
Well, I don't want him to be in the X-Men movies. I want him to keep it like this. But I will say that allegedly Hugh Jackman has stated he would come back to play Wolverine if it was a Wolverine Deadpool movie. And I would pay a lot of money to see that. Yeah. Like, that would just be...
I just don't know what the storyline would be. That'd be...
Who gives a fuck
35 minutes of them having one giant epic fight, just chopping away on each other, neither one of them dying.
I don't know. It would just be so much fun. I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah. But we can move away from movie-related news. That was just what I came across today. Let's see. What do you got?
Well, in a complete 180 of pace, I've been reading the news the last couple of weeks, actually, about a guy down in Houston, Texas, who, basically, this guy shot and killed a doctor. They were riding bicycles, and they were in a crosswalk, and they rode past each other, and the guy stopped in the middle of the road, turned around, pulled out a gun, and shot this doctor and killed him, and then he rode off. So cameras caught who he was. They had pictures and whatnot. So within a couple of days, they knew his identity. They put his identity up, or they put him up, and someone said, "Hey, that's someone's." I can't remember his name actually, but that's not super important to the story. But he then he went on the hide. He went into hiding after that. He basically there was like a week and a half manhunt for this presumed armed and dangerous guy, and then eventually they found the guy, and he was in a park, and some park worker thought he was doing graffiti. Found and confronted him, and then he kind of just dropped his wallet and walked away. So the groundskeeper or graffiti cleaning guy picked up his wallet, noticed that it was the guy. Called cops. 2 cops confronted him. He pulled out a gun. They shot him, killed him. So suicide by cop. But the interesting part was then they dug into it for motivation. They went to the guy's apartment. I think they actually released this before they ever found the guy. And the only connection. By the way, this doctor was a doctor who once operated on George H.W. Bush, the elder Bush, as one of his heart conditions post presidency. Because they live in Houston, or they have a house in Houston.
Was it recent? Because I know he had a lot of health
this
issues.
is probably back in 2012 or something like that he had the surgery that this guy performed or whatever. And so the guy's got a little bit of fame to him or whatever. So I wondered if it was something like that or whatever. But apparently the guy who killed him, his mother was operated on by this doctor and died on the table. And the guy blamed the doctor, and he spent 20 years planning his revenge on this guy. It's like 20.
I guess the reason that seems weird, because I can get it, a revenge mission, taking care of business, whatever. Why would you plan it for 20 years just to go on the run and then die suicide by cop?
Yeah, exactly. It's like
what were you planning?
There was some real issues in the end game planning on this. Like, okay, I'm going to stalk the guy. It took me 20 years to figure out his routine. So I'm not even going to bother to have an exit strategy. Yeah, I know exactly.
That should take you a fucking month at most.
Exactly. It's like apparently the guy had some mental issues, obviously, but maybe he had a little bit of mental, incapacity there as well. Maybe he wasn't all mentally there. Okay,
possibly,
I'm find him.
I mean, at least mission accomplished, but. What the fuck?
Yeah,
it's just
it's complete. It just is like 20 years of planning, and then it's like you get bitch out at the end. It's like a guy had been apparently camping in that park or whatever. He had like a backpack. So that was his plan, was to camp out until the
heat wears off. What the fuck?
Exactly.
You killed a doctor who fucking did surgery on the next president.
This isn't 1920. I mean,
you can't hide in the bushes until the fuzz is off, or the marshals go back to the saloon. What the fuck? Well, it's funny because that story, when I saw it on the sheet, it made me think of one that I actually forgot about until you literally started telling the story. A novelist and I'll put this link in the show notes because it's fucking awesome. A novelist who wrote about how to murder your husband is charged with a crime. Guess what the crime is?
She murdered his husband.
She murdered her fucking husband.
I do recall this too.
Can there be any more of a warning sign?
I don't know what year. When did that happen? Like just a general ballpark.
I just saw it on Instagram. The
reason I asked is because that's also the plot from Basic Instinct.
Oh yeah. Well, no, this I saw this on Instagram from this guy I follow. He posted the article and I looked it up, and yeah, it looks like she was 68 and she was arrested on September 5th, charged with murdering her husband with a gun and unlawful use of a weapon.
Well, yeah, I guess that's
like
the definition of unlawful use of a weapon.
Yeah, I feel like that's a bit redundant, but I get it. Yeah, apparently
if we can't get murder to stick, at least maybe we get that weapons possessions charge.
Apparently their child said, it's a big shock. It's a big shock. That's what he said twice to news. So anyway,
yeah, but he's in his 40s or so, so he's like, yeah, I'm not going to cry because, they live till they're 60, so...
Hey, man, that's not that old. This is still pretty fucked up, I will say. Either way, it's I wish he would have responded with, he was a dick. That's why she shot him.
It was a bit of a shock that she didn't do it earlier, honestly. Yeah, I don't know. That's one of those things So did she follow the rest of the steps in the book, I wonder?
I don't know. That's a good question. I just, like I said, your story made me think of it, and like I said, I'll link it in the show notes for anybody that wants to read about it. But I just thought it was really fucking weird. I don't know.
People, man, they do some dumb things. Very dumb things.
But before we move into our main story today, there's a little segment I want to throw in called the Rant Segment. And this week, it's about fucking assholes who won't shut up in a movie theater. Oh. I was absolutely livid. So my wife and I are trying to watch a movie. And, like, I love the theater. I think it's holy ground. You don't talk in the theater. You don't use your phone in the theater. You don't check the time. You don't text. Any of that shit. Like, just go to the movie and enjoy the movie. So, like, these people are being super loud. It's a group of fucking kids. They were probably, like, 15, 16. They didn't look very old. And it was insane. I don't mean, like, they were being loud and I was just being like, oh, they're kind of, I mean, like, they were literally talking louder than we're talking right now during the movie. Even at the super quiet parts, it was very annoying. So I've been to hundreds of movies. I don't know how many movies, but it's a lot over my lifetime. At least
hundreds.
Yeah, so, I mean, for the second time ever, I had to talk to a manager. Like, and to give you an example of how much I hate doing that, the only time I've ever talked to a manager was because I was at a movie with my brother, and he's in a wheelchair, and people were throwing, like, popcorn and shit at us, and it was pissing me off. And, like, I didn't want to, like, get physical, so obviously I went and told that. Like, so it took that to make me go to a fucking manager, because normally people shut up, or normally it's like you get over it. But this was incessant for like 35 minutes. So I talked to the manager. They were actually very responsive. They let me go in and sit down, and then they came in after me. And I heard them talking to them because they were a couple rows behind us. And they were quiet for like 10 fucking minutes. And then they started at it again. So it's like basically just something you had to deal with for the movie.
Did you think to confront them directly?
No, because my wife would probably kill me if I did that. Because she hates that. But also, I would never want something to get physical because if they smarted off to me, like, I don't know how I would respond because it's like, and if they're under 18, I'm fucked. Yeah. So if I punch somebody in the face. So, like, no, I thought, like, and I don't want to be that dick during the movie, standing up and be like, hey, can you all shut the fuck up? Because you know it's going to escalate from there. Like, that would never go well. And there's probably like 30 people in the theater. I'm surprised no one else went to a manager either.
I think we're being trained basically between, the guy in Florida and the guy in Colorado. The guy in Florida who basically shot the guy for talking on the phone to his wife about they were setting up like someone to pick up their kid or some shit like that. It was like some retired sheriff or some shit with a concealed carry, and he shot the guy.
Jesus, that's fucked up.
It was fucked up, yeah. And, so he basically, it was completely killed some father of two or whatever in front of his kid. Because his father and his son was there and his wife was picking up their other kid or something. That's the reason he was talking to him. I mean, he was being a dick. I mean, he should have, like, got up and got out of the theater. But I guess if his kid was there, he couldn't take the kid out with him. Didn't leave his kid in the theater. I get all that.
Yeah, I definitely think that was a classic overreaction.
That's the, definite classic overreaction.
And like I said, I'm not trying to be a dick. If somebody has to occasionally talk, or like if they want to talk loud occasionally, like, it's not cool, but I get it. Like, whatever. Even if you use your fucking phone, even if it's rare. But, like, to do it incessantly, that's where I feel like that's inconsiderate. Everyone paid $12 or whatever a ticket cost these days.
Did you ask the manager for a free ticket or money back?
That's the thing. My ticket was already free.
Still would ask for it. Give me a pass because these guys are being...
Yeah.
And if the movie theater, sir, your movie was free. This is also down in Mount Vernon, wasn't it?
Yes.
I told you this. That's the problem. That's the reason I don't like Mount Vernon. We used to work down there. I know the parents of those kids. They're just the same.
It was kids. No, it was pretty shitty. But yeah, no. So that's my rant. My wife told me I believe she said I could feel the annoyance like beaming off of you during the movie, and I was like, oh no, it was. My fucking blood pressure was probably jacked. Like,
what was the movie anyway?
The Nun.
Oh well.
Yeah, because honestly, like. When I talked about The Nun in the last episode and talked about watching it, like, I had really tried to push that memory out of my head, which is why I forgot about it. Mm-hmm. But then it came rushing back. So I was like, fuck it, I'll do this as a rant thing. Yeah, that sounds funny.
Because The Nun, yeah.
mean, yeah, and don't get me wrong, the movie was shitty. Like, the movie was awful. But, like, you know, it's a scary movie that relies on jump scares and loud noises. I can't fucking hear those loud noises if you're talking louder than the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not a jump scare person. It really takes a lot to make me jump. But it's like, I still don't want to miss it. They're pretty predictable anyway. You know how scary movies are. Yeah. So,
here
either
it comes. Oh, it didn't happen now. It's going to happen. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've gotten much more annoying with it because they try to, like, they think they're pulling one over on you. They'll, like, close something with a mirror and you're expecting something. And then, like, they do it again. Then they do it again. And it's like, oh, maybe the 5th time. It's like, oh, you got me. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's not the first time anymore. Now we're having to wait through multiple fucking times.
But anyway.
I know what I like to see is like a jump scare. Like, you know, it's like middle of the movie. Main protagonist is sitting there, you know, doing the things, like getting scared. He opens the mirror and there's nothing. And he shuts it. He opens the mirror and then his head just gets ripped the fuck off. And that's the end of the fucking movie. That's the kind of jump scare I want to happen from here on out in fucking movies. Fucking full Joss Whedon on this shit.
That, or I like that, or something completely insane and it makes no sense. Like, for some reason, have like a fucking... I don't know.
A rhinoceros run through the back of the room.
Or like a Saint Bernard just bust down a door and like attack a guy and then leave.
That? Exactly.
And don't explain it to me. Don't tell me anything.
Exactly.
Or if you want, maybe at the end of the movie be like, rhino escaped from zoo. Or wild dog is out. Like, just like, you could throw that if you want. But either way, it'd be mystifying for like 30 minutes.
Exactly. So it's like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Because honestly, we all know when the jump scares are coming. You're not fooling anyone, Hollywood. Goddamn money grubbers.
Like, I can usually get over jump scares in a movie if it's well done. Like, you know, I love all the other Conjuring movies, so like they're well done films, so the jump scares, I get over it. But anyway, yeah, I didn't mean for that to turn into a hate on jump scares, but they do fucking suck.
Yeah,
so
they do.
Somebody needs to say it.
Completely suck. Your wife would disagree, but she's not here.
What's the main story tonight?
The main story tonight is artificial intelligence.
Well, that's terrifying.
Well, it can be, but at the same time, it may be awesome.
I guess.
Because think about it, man. If you had an artificial, like a chair or a ship from like Wall-E or whatever, you just eating and chilling all day long watching movies.
That's the wrong thing. That's how we're gonna turn into Wall-E. But now, like, what if Wall-E's really existed? Which is my favorite Pixar movie. So what if they existed, like, and they lived in harmony with us? Basically, like an upgraded Roomba.
We're talking like iRobot. iRobot before they went, rogue. Like everybody goes rogue.
I would still feel uncomfortable.
Or Centennial Man. Have Robin Williams robot rolling around.
I would feel uncomfortable with all that because they're two people and like the way they respond, like you would feel awkward. So with Wall-E, he's
why would you feel awkward? I'm just curious.
Because they look like a person, they speak like a person, they essentially are a person. The only thing that is the only difference between us and the robots off iRobot
security number
was that. And I guess you could say, however you want to define consciousness. Like, so they weren't totally a person, but like that in and of itself is a gray area. Yeah. With Wall-E, they're very non-threatening. They look like a trash can.
Yeah, but Wall-E was more human than the iRobots were.
But you would have to get to know him. And if you don't take the time, because he's like a little garbage guy for you, like you'll never have to worry about that.
Well, this is like basically talking like, like at some point you're developing a relationship with your smart fridge. Because, they're going to get smarter and they'll be like, hey, Jonathan, how's your morning going?
That'd be fucking creepy, and I wouldn't have that in my house.
Exactly. But, you just never know. You just buy a typical dumb smart fridge with, like, you push buttons and shit, but they just keep upgrading the software until one day it's talking to you.
Well, shit, that makes me think of Her, which is creepy in and of itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, when you have something that is that responsive and that human-like...
Yeah.
Like that you just fall in love with the idea of what it could be.
Well, that actually is one of the points I wanted to bring up is like, what is AI going to be? Is AI going to be software like Her, where it's just, a sentient software that can only interact through, vocalizations, visualizations and whatnot off of a screen or a hologram, say, kind of, a la Blade Runner 2049? Or is it going to be a actual robot-based AI, such as your Terminators or your iRobots or Centennial Men or AI, the movie with the little fucking talking teddy bear shit. Teddy Ruxpin walking around, that's creepy as fuck. But anyway, but yeah, it's like Teddy Ruxpin 2.0. But yeah, so like that, which one is it going to be, and what will actually... will it be humans created, or will it be okay, let me rephrase it. It's all going to be human created, but will it be intentional creation or accidental creation? Because that was one of the big things in all these cyberpunk books and stuff that I was reading back years ago, a couple of decades ago, was that basically everybody was talking about how search engine algorithms, search engines were the first. I think it was Neil Stevenson in Snow Crash, or was it Diamond Age? I think it was Diamond Age actually. Was talking about the fact that the search engines became sentient online. They were the first true AIs because they came online themselves. They were self-created at that point, and they just got smarter because more and more of your Siris, your Cortana, your Alexas, the more you interact with them, the more they learn you, the more they learn in general,
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I'll add on to that. I do want to preface everything I'm about to say. From this point on, I am not an artificial intelligence expert. I don't know anything about it except what I read in the news and what I listen to. So if somebody listens to this and they're like an expert or they follow it closely, if I say something dumb, sorry, but this is not something I profess to know a ton about. I think it's very interesting, and I have done a little research on it. But to follow along with your idea, something else to build on that is not just search engines, but social media. When you start looking at everything that you are, like not us because we're not social media freaks, but a lot of people, they put their life on Facebook and Instagram, and that's like some people that's their job, that's their digital life. Yeah. And when you start examining that, and like I really didn't think about this until I heard Elon Musk talk about it, and then I started thinking, like the wheels started turning. Like when you start looking at search engines and not just search engines, but their algorithms, and when you start looking at social media and what we put on there, and in a lot of aspects, social media brings out the worst of humanity in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. So if that is the initial learning grounds for some form of AI before it comes into full awareness, that could get very interesting and dangerous, because look at the material it's consuming. Like it's consuming just so many, not just photos and videos and comments. It's taking in so much, and so much of it is negative. So like if we go with your thought and we go with basically search engines or training, or that's the initial training ground of something that's going to come to awareness, when you roll in social media, in my opinion, it gets a lot more dangerous. Like, does that make any sense?
It does, right? But the thing about the social media is I hate it.
Me too.
Just like you, I hate it. But my actual point was going to be that a lot of what social media is out there is also old people sharing pictures of their grandkids and people saying I love you, and so there is a balancing point to the negativity that is out there on social media. The negativity is what gets the news because what's her name, Kylie Jenner's naked photos just got leaked and it bombed social media and this, that, and the other. That's the headline grabber, but the background, all the other information behind it is going to be people connecting, and
well, I will say
that may show a social aspect and a care about other aspect that they may learn from. So maybe there won't be straight up killers.
Well, I'm not trying to be a pessimist, because I know sometimes I lean that way, but I am going to say, like, unfortunately, I've had to wade in the waters of social media a lot more than you with past ventures that I've done, like just needing it. And unfortunately, like, we need social media for what we're doing, but at least we're contributing something interesting. So it's like, it's not the end of the world. But in my opinion, that balance you speak of is closer than you think. Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying, and I would love to look at the glass half full. But I mean, let's just be real. If we're going to get way out there with this conversation and we're going to go full on sci-fi, if artificial intelligence ever comes to full awareness, it's going to take it about half a second to realize we're a threat. To realize we're a threat to everything. The planet, AI itself, like everything. Just based off of a quick search, because we can. How fast could its mind work? Like how fast could it scan? Are we talking like full Ultron, like from the Marvel universe, or are we talking something slower?
Like a week or two, it took him a day or two.
Yeah, no, actually for to learn everything about Tony Stark and all that.
Within 24 hours.
Yeah, and the other question.
The thing is like what we can really hope for though is that it actually. That's what I'm getting at though. So. It's going to come aware. We're going to be a threat. It's going to want to end us, but hopefully it'll create zoos for us to live in. So some of us will survive in zoos. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Well, I mean, my serious question, since you know more about this than me, would be like, when we know right now governments are working on this, and for all we know of all the shit we don't know about, there is fully functioning AI right now. Like there is a fully functioning thought processing, able to communicate like a human. That's for all we know that exists in someone's basement or someone's compound. So it's going to be smart enough to not let on how fully aware it is while it's learning. You know what I mean?
Not really.
Like,
well,
and that's my question.
Yeah,
Could that be the case?
I think it's going to be the case. I think if AI gets invented and released in the world into in its full evil form or its malicious form or whatever, it's going to be through human arrogance or human design, and then arrogance that we can stop it. Because again, a computer at its basic core is nothing more than what you put into it. So if you program it just to play chess or have a conversation or think about math, what's that one Watson, IBM's almost AI? It's an extremely learning program that they have. There's no inherent evil there. It actually beat Bobby Fischer at chess after 2 or 3 times because it learned. Because it's a learning algorithm, which is what AI basically is. So I don't really see Watson being evil or whatnot because they haven't asked it to solve the human problem is what it amounts to, and that's going to be the issue when you basically take something you create that's curious, that wants to know, and then you expose it to evil, or you have it make a choice between its core values. It actually goes to another thing I was going to talk about. Isaac Asimov, a huge sci-fi writer from the 80s, 70s, 80s, and whatnot, wrote a series about robots, and it was called, and the main thing that he brought out was called the law of robotics. There was 3 laws, I can't remember them all, but the number 1 was you cannot harm a human. A robot cannot harm a human.
That sounds like iRobot, kind of.
It is. It actually was a lot. Okay. I think iRobot was part of... Actually, iRobot was the book. Isaac Asimov wrote iRobot, and then that movie was kind of a spin-off. It wasn't fully like that, but it was very... Okay. It was off that. So yeah, cannot harm a human or by inaction or allow a human to be harmed. So if you put those kind of tenets into their basic learning program, then you would basically safeguard humanity against whatever robot had that core programming. The problem with it is people who aren't altruistic and they want humans or robots to be harmful and whatnot, and that's the ones that will basically we'll make a killer robot, but we can always kill it later. Not really. Now, once you set the genie loose, once you open Pandora's box,
So, how quickly do you think it would be used in a military sense? Because I forgot who said the quote. It was a great quote.
Well, the thing about the military doctrine, though, sorry to interrupt you there, but the military doctrine is not to think. The military doctrine doesn't want its soldiers to think either. They want them to follow orders. They want them to be trained to see a threat and then eliminate a threat. That's what their training is for. It's not about problem solving per se. That's what the higher ups are doing.
Well, I mean, if they were
the same thing with robots. They would just want to send robot controlled tanks into an arena and just blow shit up and not worry about pain or injury or any of that sort of shit. So.
Well, I mean, the guy, I can't remember, and I'll try to look it up and put it in show notes if I can find it again. It was pretty obscure, but he said something about since basically nuclear bombs have made man-to-man combat irrelevant, basically.
To a degree.
I mean, yeah, obviously to a large degree, but I mean, when you start examining that, he was basically talking about AI being implemented more locally. And I think that's what we're seeing. And by locally, I mean jobs. And I think that's what we're starting to see a lot more.
Stuff,
yeah. I think that's what we're starting to see a lot more. I believe Stephen Hawking said that, he said within his lifetime, obviously that did not happen, but he's the one who always talked about AI taking workforce and basically eliminating humans from jobs. And Elon Musk is always the one talking about, basically, I believe he says summoning a demon is how he describes AI. So when you look at those two mindsets, I feel like all we really have is a movie sense of AI. Like we have Ultron, we have Skynet, we have iRobot, we have Blade Runner. When you get down to it, like over the next 10 years as we advance quickly, because there's already a huge war going on for processors and who can come out with the fastest one and this and that to basically power all this.
Processing, but
yeah. Do we like? Is that really going to be the push? Like, are we really just going to see AI heavily implemented, and like just it's going to keep going in phones? But will we see it really take over in the workforce?
I don't. Yeah, I think we're going to, but not in the way that everybody fears. You're not going to have like robots with hands and arms walking.
I don't mean that. I mean automated processes.
What you're going to have
like
is like you have AI right now. If you want examples of AI, Tesla's self-driving cars. That's based off an AI program. We're going to talk about again. I bring it up again. Search engines, Google, how it learns what you search and how it knows to give you advertising. That's AI. I mean, there are examples out there right now, and it's just going to get more and more of it. I think your workforce AIs are going to be, so your social media was a great example. I mean, more and more learning from what you do and studying you via your computer habits, via cameras out in the world that are getting more and more. We're talking, your general habits. Anything that studies your habits and can predict what you're going to do, that's an AI. That's basically like it's basically like you have a human that studies what you do in order to predict what you're going to do. It's a computer that's instead. So when bringing it into the workplace, I mean, certain manufacturing jobs, they instantly go away because a robot can do it repetitively longer than a human can. When it comes to deep critical thinking, that's not going to happen for a long time. They're going to basically, what you're going to see laboratory or a computer that you can communicate with in a more normal manner. Like, hey, Watson, I'm trying to figure out how to accrue this data and come up with a data set that's going to predict where the stock market might go in 2 years if we had a catastrophic flood in Thailand. Can you tell me how that would affect the political climate in Norway? Those are all things that are actually being like the kind of that large scale macro conceptualization. Humans cannot think that big, but if you put enough data into a computer, it'll tell you.
Well, I mean, Elon Musk is who got me even really seriously thinking about AI, and a couple of other guys that have been involved. They think the opposite, not total opposite. Elon Musk thinks that we're going to see some sort of massive advancement with artificial intelligence in the next decade. He's so worried about it. He talked to Obama when he was in office. He set up a meeting with it. Yeah. He addressed all 50 governors at a meeting. Like he's basically like he said it's going to come down to checks and balances and like making sure that we have a system in place. But his problem is it takes so long, and this is something I didn't think about. He said the problem is it takes so long to implement those checks and balances. And I didn't know this, but the automobile industry basically fought the seatbelt for quite some time, even though all data showed you were more likely to live with one than without one, with wearing one than without one. But they still fought it, I think, for close to a decade. So, like, that's how long it takes these checks and balances to take in. So if we have someone or some government or somebody, whichever you want to go with, if they're moving in a not-so-friendly direction with AI, or if they're toying with something that is obviously an issue, like, it's going to take some time. Like, it could possibly be too late, not to sound like the sky is falling type stuff. But he was implying that it possibly could be too late by the time we get around to it with the massive advancement that AI is taking on.
What is his prediction when AI happens?
Well, that's interesting, and this is where it gets really cool.
I don't know, the lizard people finally come down from the moon, or what?
No, he had a few different things, and one of them is integration. And would it be optional or not optional? Like, so let's say AI becomes fully aware in the next 10 years, and they assess the human race. And they see ways to improve. They don't automatically want to go to destruction, like looking at Skynet or some shit. Like, they want to improve. So at that point, would it be an optional improvement to where, like, hey, we're going to help the human race figure out a way to defeat death. We're going to, like, he was talking about putting your fucking, like, your consciousness on a hard drive type shit, like way out there sci-fi stuff.
Okay. Sounds awesome to me.
Yeah, it sounds awesome to me too. So, like, basically,
head in the jar.
Is it
Futurama style?
Is it going to be optional? If it is, would it be optional from a government standpoint or from an AI standpoint? Because basically at that point, does AI run everything? Like, he was just getting way out there. And obviously all this is extreme speculation, but this is how strongly he feels about it. I mean, and something I didn't think of, it was, we're practically already cyborgs. Like, when you look at the phone that everyone has now, like, smartphones are, I mean, everyone has them. Like, they're basically a necessity for life. Like, I got my first phone like 17 years ago, and it was a candy bar phone. It's a shit phone.
Yep.
But like, I felt like a king. I didn't get a fucking smartphone till I was like in my early 20s, and even then it was like, man, this is pretty rare. Flash forward to my mid 20s, everyone has them. Flash forward to now,
You know who predicted it?
and 10-year-olds, 8-year-olds have them.
Fucking Microsoft guy, lead guy, Bill Gates.
Bill Gates?
He said that when he was doing back in the 80s or 90s, whenever they started Microsoft, he said at some point everyone will have a credit card size device in their wallet that basically has communication and is a computer and whatnot. Yeah,
that's interesting.
It was one of the things that he got right.
Well, I mean,
he's a smart dude.
Well, yeah, when you look at a smartphone, like, he basically put it in layman's terms for somebody like me, because I can't really follow his train of thought a lot, is look at how much smarter it makes you. You can answer pretty much any question. You can do pretty much anything when you have that phone. So, like, he used that as a scale to show you how much better are we going to be if optional integration happens. Like, on what scale would their improvement be?
Borg.
Like, Borg.
The Borg from Star Trek.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that's basically it. We'd be a collective. We'd be a hive. We'd all be connected continually to the cloud because we'd all be cyborgs.
Yeah, and that's basically what he was kind of talking about.
Awesome.
So when we look, I mean, it sounds interesting. I guess to me, it's just such a foreign concept to think about. But I mean, I guess that's how you can kind of get into a comfort zone with this, because when you look at the advancement of AI over the last decade, it's very reasonable to think that we're on a track where it's just going to get faster and faster, because one breakthrough leads to 10 breakthroughs. Like, so it's basically something that's going to be expedited, so to speak. So, I mean, I guess it's a foreign concept, but I mean, who knows what could happen in 20 years? Who knows where we'll be? And I don't know. It's just, it's frightening, but it's also cool, because what if we could eliminate things that plague us now? What if we could fix things like, I don't know. It's interesting. It's just an interesting concept, I guess.
Yeah, no, I get that. I don't know. My main thought would be that AI, I was raised on as many dystopian movies as you. And so, that whole lingering, as soon as they come online, we're all going to, it's going to declare war on the human race or whatever. But at the same time, you look at what it could do. I mean, I look at, from the other side of the equation, I've always liked the concept of cybernetics and bionics, $6 Million Man.
Oh, yeah, me too. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, exactly, where you can become more by putting, machines in your body. All of those are predicated around the fact that the human mind is still in control of the machine. What Elon Musk was talking about is probably with integration. He's probably talking about that, the machine is almost more in control of the person.
Basically, that was the thought. If there is an integration, is it an AI-headed integration, or is it the government still has control over AI and they kind of like, hey, do you want to do this? If it is optional at that point. If not, it would almost be like one of those weird movies where it's like you have the humans that decided to enhance, like the enhanced, and the humans that didn't. Because it won't take, if that was to happen, as crazy as that sounds to even say, it's not going to take very long for that environment to get unpleasant. Yeah. Is basically what I'm saying.
Again, like I say, I think that actually has to do a lot with the intent behind the AI that eventually comes about. If you have rules in place where AIs can't do certain things, then, the technology will be there without the fear of computers becoming evil, if you will. But, humans have a long history of not going the best route when given a choice of good or evil.
Oh yeah,
because they go the cheap, the personal power, the whatever route they usually go to. So yeah, who knows what it's going to actually end up being? I mean, Elon Musk has some interesting ideas. I think he actually may be throwing out a smoke screen so that he can actually continue his work in evil AI, because I think he may be a super villain.
A lot of people talk about that. Yeah. Some people think he's a fucking alien.
Yeah,
I don't know. Be. I just think I'm not a huge fan of his, as I've said in the past, but it's still interesting to think about. I have never given really two thoughts about it. Like I look at phones and I look at all this shit and it's like, this is awesome, but like, can I seriously, as a logical person, think about the future AI and using words like enhanced and things like that? Like, it's really hard for me to wrap my head around that. But I mean, there's like the video I'll put in the show notes that blew me away, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen this because it came out in February, of the two robots working together to open that door.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. It was very quick. Like, they put it together pretty quickly to open the door. And it's just...
Well, I actually like the concept that they actually open the door instead of just busting it the fuck down.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. And you know, and that raises... And you saying that raises another big possibility that I'm not sure why it's being looked over, which is, who's to say that if AI becomes aware, it won't be reasonable?
Yeah.
Like, why...
Look, you guys are all crazy. I could throw some ideas out there, as long as you don't try to unplug me.
Yeah, it's like we have a tendency as a human race anyway to be doom and gloom. There's always some shit. The world's ending. 2012.
Part of our survival mechanism is to fear change, to fear difference. I mean, that of course that works really well when it comes to religious debates and wars in the desert. But we actually have a fear of change. We have a fear of different, a fear of unknown.
Yeah, not just that. We have an obsession with the apocalypse. We have an obsession with end times. Like, that's all anybody ever talks about.
Well, that comes down to our obsession with the concept of death, because we have a hard time conceptualizing death. So when we start thinking about death, we want to share it. We want it to be everybody's going to die with me. It's not just me going off into that great good night or whatever. It's going to be, that's kind of where to my opinion, that's where our apocalypse fascination comes from. Is just our lack of understanding of death and our need to feel like more than just me has to go through this. But
and also on that same note, I've read articles lately talking about how there's some scientists that lean towards consciousness never dying, and like the body dies and the consciousness moves on. So that introduces a whole host of interesting questions and things about our consciousness. What is it? Do we really know what it is? Is consciousness essentially what we view as a soul?
Yeah.
But if that is correct, like, we technically could get to a point to where you could upload consciousness into something, like into a hard drive.
I always had an issue with when I thought about this concept a lot. I mean, a lot. Anyway, about the fact of uploading your consciousness into a computer. And my thought process is this. Okay, so you have your brain, you hook it to a computer, and now you download who you are or everything you believe and think, memories, all that into this hard drive that exists. And then you put that into an artificial body that looks just like your body, except it's a robotic body that now is unkillable, immortal, doesn't die, whatever. So now you unplug everything, and then here's the problem. The flesh you wakes up, and you're still you. But now there's a robot copy that believes it's you as well. Or your body dies, and now your soul or your mind that was you goes off to do whatever you were going to do when you died anyway, and now this copy lives on, but you are still dead. Even if this copy of who you were at the time of death is existing into perpetuity and can continue to learn and do whatever, the you that was you in this flesh body is now dead.
Yeah, I follow that, and that's one of those things where it's just, it gets way out there. First of all, no one, you could get 10 people in a room and never get them to agree that consciousness lives on, and you can put it on a hard drive, or we'll ever get that way. So I mean, that's just one of those things that's pure speculation. But I could see. I guess what it boils down to is us being as complex as we are as a species. Like, to be able to just say, yeah, like, you died. We'll take everything that made you unique and everything that made you human, everything that made you who you are, and like, we're just going to put your consciousness on a fucking hard drive and then load you up into something else. Like, that in and of itself just seems so outrageous to think about. Like, I don't know. It's just, I see what, I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, I don't have a problem with that concept. What I have a problem with is like...
No, I have a problem with everything that accompanies that concept.
My problem is you don't accomplish anything. You do not cheat death by downloading your consciousness. You still will die. And then here's another thing. Here's the other thought. I was like, well, let's solve that problem, shall we? So I started thinking about it some more. And it's like, so what if you take nanobytes nanites, little robot thingies. And they go and you inject them in your body, and they start replacing your neurons atom by atom with artificial ones that mimic the originals. And they run through your entire brain, and when they're done, you are an artificial being. And you never died in the process, or did you? At some point, does it become...
Well, you still have the body,
die.
and the body will
Well, no,
still...
and you do they do redo the whole body. What I'm saying is, like, your mind in general, your mind is replaced atom by atom with artificial replicated cells. And so you never actually die, but now you transition from flesh to machine in a seamless fashion, but somewhere along that line, do you still lose your life, your soul, your essence?
With our very definition of death, I think you would.
I don't know, but at what point? Like 51%?
Yeah, I think when you look at it, I think yes, you would have died. I mean that concept is another concept that's just so fucking out there.
Yeah.
But I mean, either way, it's interesting to think about, and I guess I say it's out there, but I will always come back to people that think that sounds insane. Has to look at how far we've came in just the last 5 years. We're not even going to go back 10 years.
Yeah.
We're not going to go back fucking 20 years. Let's just look at 5 years, and let's just look at how much we've advanced with technology.
2013.
Like, it's insane. I mean, I remember in 2013 or 14, like, and this is a very, very grounded example. But look at how much better we've gotten with not just phones, but TVs, cars, everything. It's all been just a massive leap. Like, a fucking Tesla is insane, dude. I didn't know much about it.
Mm-hmm.
But
12, didn't it?
But I don't know. I just know the shit they're doing now. Actually, no, it's been around longer because he talked about barely surviving bankruptcy in 2008.
Okay.
Because he said there's only two car companies to ever exist in America that's never declared bankruptcy one time. Ford and Tesla. So, yeah, they've been around a while. But just looking at the shit they can do, but not just them, but electric cars in general. And what we're able to do with just phones and everything else. I mean, I don't know. It's what I'm saying is the leap isn't the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
I think the leap's a little more narrow than that.
Yeah, no, I do believe that we're actually going... I agree that, I don't know about the next 10 years, but I think that, whenever you have those kind of predictions, I think that they're a little bit, like Hawking, one of the smartest men ever to exist, thought that would happen in his lifetime. It didn't. And I think that it's going to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen... I honestly just don't think it's going to happen as quickly or in the way we think it's going to happen. I mean, that's the thing about... the sci-fi stuff. Is like the sci-fi gets you new gadgets and gets you new concepts, but it doesn't actually get you an answer. No one person can predict the future, and so I think it's going to happen gradually over time. That one of these days, it's not going to be like hey, Skynet just woke up and wants to have a conversation with humanity, and like an alien invasion kind of thing. It's just going to be like, a program, Ford just basically created an AI that runs its whole plant, and it runs its workforce. Like there's a new computer manager of the plant that actually runs the humans, tells them what to do and how to interact and whatnot, and has a greater efficiency and whatnot. It knows because it can see all the dynamics going on at once in a way that a human manager couldn't do that.
I guess,
and I think more of those are going to propagate over and over again until you come to some point where, you're going to have the AI from a Ford plant talking to the AI from a tire manufacturer, from a Goodyear plant, a Goodyear, and then eventually you're going to run those up the chain till whole companies, the CEOs are still human, but they're consulting their AI to tell them, what the best strategy is for their investment or how their roadmap is moving forward. Based upon their communication with the other AIs of the world. I mean, that's the kind of concept that I see happening. It's going to be a cooperative thing until the one day that the humans basically is like, I don't even need to show up to work. You got this AI. And that's when we get screwed.
Well, I think it's going to be very gradual. I do agree with that. But I will say if we go in that direction, if we start wading in those waters you're describing, it's going to create some real conflicts. one could argue right now that we live in a slave mindset, more or less, with the fact that we have to work to buy things, we pay taxes, et cetera, et cetera. I don't view it like that. I mean, I know I'm just saying some people do, as to play devil's advocate. So when you introduce AI controlling a plant like that, and obviously this is something that's far off, but I agree. I think that's going to be the initial steps. It's going to introduce a whole host of things. Like, what if we're getting an employee review by an AI?
Mm-hmm.
What if like they're assessing and when you're dealing with a computer, they're assessing everything. Like, they're assessing not just your performance, but your body movement, ways to enhance your performance on the line and things like that.
Like your performance, I give a C+. Have you ever thought about getting artificial legs?
Yeah,
that would allow you to move quicker from A to B.
Like, it just seems so crazy to think about, and in a way, I'm not sure if that would be any better. Like, I don't know. I do agree that that's the direction I think it could go first. But I mean, I do think any integration is going to be very gradual. Yeah. It's going to be probably so gradual you won't even know about it until we read about it in the news. They'll be like, it's just happening. Like, it's just been happening. Like, this is how it is.
As soon as I can get augmented reality eyes and my cell phone plugged into my brain, I'm good.
See, I don't want that shit. I want the shit we've talked about in the past. I want I want metal arms, metal legs. Exactly. Like, I just want
full body replacement, except for the penis.
Wow. Yeah. I don't. It'll be interesting.
Oh God, we didn't even talk about sex robots.
Yeah, which that in and of itself, as I said before, I feel like that's a conflict. That whole sex robot brothel thing I read about, to me, not only does it seem really fucking creepy and really weird and bizarre and every other adjective you can use.
Because you don't really, you don't own a lifelike sex doll.
Yeah, I don't. You're right.
Exactly.
But it's going to get interesting.
I'm pretty sure that sounds pretty cool to those guys who actually own those.
Well, when you're dealing with a robot like that, I mean, if we're going to touch on it, we might as well. If you're dealing with a robot that can hold somewhat of a conversation and you're going to basically make it engage in intercourse and stuff like that, like, at what point does that robot, as crazy it is to say, get rights? Because I don't think that's right. Like, just looking at it from a human perspective, I think that's exploitation on a whole new level that we haven't even defined yet.
Yeah, but is it exploitation to have your toaster make your toast? And that's going to be their argument.
My question would be, are you having sex with your toaster?
It doesn't. Why is sex sacred? Why is cooking not sacred? That's what I'm getting at.
Toaster's not AI. Can a toaster hold a conversation with you?
At some point, yes, it will be able to.
Yeah, we're talking about right now. We're talking about right now, fridge, the day we live in.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, what is this conversation? This conversation is that it's just a computer program. It's like, does your laptop have sentience? You could actually download a program onto your computer and have a conversation with it. You can have a conversation with Siri. You can have a conversation with Alexa. So
that's true, but you know as well as I do, when you start examining subject matter like this, it is different because it's physical. Like, that is the way it will be viewed.
That's actually, which goes back to how AIs are going to either be computer programs, which we'd be okay with, or actual walking around robots, which we'd be less okay with as a human species.
Not to mention, sex robots look fucking weird. Like,
well, that's the thing, is that if they put a sex robot into one of those live, sex dummies bodies or whatever, they would look a lot less weird.
That's true.
Because, they would look, like replicants at that point. But, yeah, I mean, that will be the question. That will eventually become the question, and that actually may actually end up being the catalyst for the conflict, of robots. What should robots have rights? That movie on Netflix. I hate to give away that movie because...
Oh, yeah, I can't even remember the fucking name of it. That just twist was so cool, though.
Yeah, we'll just sort of... There's a movie on Netflix. It's really cool to watch it. That's really vague. But anyway...
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. It came out a couple weeks ago. Extinction. Yeah, is it Extinction?
Yeah, it's Extinction. Goddamn. Spoilers, by the way. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that massive movie, spoilers.
Yeah, because that movie's amazing. But, the movie was good. Maybe he wouldn't.
The twist really pushed it over the top.
The twist was what makes you go, damn. But so that may be the catalyst. The other one, I was just thinking about it. Damn, I lost my train of thought. But and that's going to be that may be what pushes us into a conflict of what kind of rights should they get, this, that, and the other. But initially, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be an issue because the only people who are going to object to it are going to be SJWs. The only people who are going to do it are going to be people who would actually probably love it. Would love it if they were real citizens. you know. But at the same time, they'd still want them to be slaves. But yeah, no, that's going to be the question of all time is if we work cooperatively with AIs moving forward, which I feel that's what we're going to do at some point. We're going to have to confront the fact that they are more human than human, as is the motto of the Tyrell Corporation in Blade Runner. Also, an amazing song by White Zombie, but
no, I agree. I think that will be the overarching question when eventually this comes to be will be rights. Do they deserve them? Social security numbers, all kind of shit. I don't know if that's going to happen in our lifetime, but it is a conversation that will have to be had simply because of what we're doing and the waters we'll be wading in at that point.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, and again, like I wonder when. You know, that's my biggest thing is when is this going to happen? I think I'm actually more optimistic and intrigued by the concept of AI and what form it may take. Personally,
no, I'm intrigued by it too, and it's definitely something, like I said, I've given more thought to since doing some research on it, and I don't know. Keep an eye out for any updates on it, any news that might be worth checking out, just so you can see if there's any major changes happening in the world. So, yeah. But yeah, no, that's artificial intelligence. Like
we should probably wrap that up now.
A very broad look at it, but yeah, that's it. Anyway, what are you doing this week? Anything fun? Anything cool? Reading anything?
This week I just started reading that book, Titan. I didn't get very far. It's kind of dry. I won't lie.
Well, it's fucking hard sci-fi. Exactly. That just sounds boring.
Yeah.
Like
it opened up with like a woman having a spacewalk and thinking back about her training with this other guy who's an astronaut who sounds like the quintessential like Apollo astronaut guy, just like always laid back and ready to go, ex-army pilot, and all I'm picturing in my head is Tom Skerritt, because he basically is 100% this guy or whatever. But yeah, so it's just like this, and I'm just like, when's the interesting stuff going to happen? So I'm just about too bored and going to slam the book shut when they actually mention, like, hey, have you heard some guy, some egghead at JPL found out there might be life on Titan? And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it'll get interesting now.
How many chapters are we talking, though?
We're talking a good 10 pages.
10 pages. Yeah. 10 fucking pages.
It's 676 pages, man. It's going to be a while.
Of course, it's going to take some time to build the story. It's like reading a King novel.
Yeah, but, you know, it's like if it was a YouTube video, it'd already be over.
Don't be one of those guys.
I'm becoming one of those guys. It makes me sad. What about you? What you got going on?
Well, I'm reading Papillon because I watched the remake the other day, a few weeks ago, and it was actually pretty good. It was a remake I don't think we needed, but it made me realize that I've never read the book.
Right.
Because I was a fan of the original. So I decided to read it, and good God, it's mind-blowing. I cannot even believe the life that dude led.
Yeah.
And it's really frightening with the way the justice system in France worked, and just having that entire concept to me is frightening.
Mm-hmm.
And just dealing with having your freedom stripped away and basically being treated worse than an animal at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting book. I did not realize his life was that interesting. The movie did not even tip of the iceberg, top of the iceberg.
Have you ever read the book before?
No, this is the first time.
Okay, because you watched the original movie.
Because I watched the original movie, but I was a kid and didn't really give it much thought. So then watching the remake made me realize I need to read this. But now I'm thinking, this needs to be like a fucking epic, like Netflix show. Like I think this dude's life could be like 10 episodes.
Yeah, easy.
It's a good book so far, and I've also been watching Iron Fist season 2.
That's out. Oh,
and I'll tell you, it's better than the first one.
Not hard to do.
Not hard to do at all. They're doing some things good. They're doing some things wrong. I still like it better than Jessica Jones. I know at some point we're going to talk about the Netflix Marvel Universe, but I'm about 5 episodes in, and they did a good thing. They trimmed it down to 10 episodes. I believe the last season was 13.
Yeah.
Trimming those 3 episodes off is going to help.
Luke Cage
13.
season 2. Okay.
13. So I think they kind of realized like maybe we should go in this direction.
Yeah, because Luke Cage season 2 actually did way better with what they had compared to season 1, but it still was probably about 2 or 3 episodes too long.
Oh, no, I agree. And as we've discussed, I feel like there's only so much you can do on a ground level like that with those guys. Like, there's really only so much story you can tell without it being super repetitive.
Well, it's like Daredevil season 2, which was amazing. First half.
Yes.
Punisher half. Second half, the Elektra half was not as cool. I enjoyed it. You didn't like it as much. But, again, it wasn't as good as the first half. And so what it actually strikes me is like that actually is the prototype. They know now what they should do. They just probably aren't going to do it. 6 episode seasons, just more often. Every year or whatever. Like boom, 6 episodes about the Punisher, 6 episodes about Elektra. 6 all the way across.
I guess for me, like I'm being biased when I say this because I'm a huge fan of the Punisher, but I feel like I could watch the Punisher as a 10 or 13 episode season if he's doing like because he was a crime boss attack kind of guy. Like he would find like the whole I forgot the Italian family's name that he went after.
Maggio.
No, it started with
Maggia?
a G. It was
Ma
Nucci, I think. Yeah, the Nucci clan.
Yeah.
Like that storyline was really good. So if they would let him go through all these underlings and like then in the last couple episodes he gets close and then he takes care of business, like I could watch that for 10 episodes just because it's Frank like doing reconnaissance work.
Well, it's basically like you would want a visualization of the comic books.
Yeah.
That's what comic books are. Comic books don't have. I mean, they do actually have arcs. Don't get me wrong, but overall, they either take longer or shorter time to develop the arcs. It's a 3 comic arc or more of 15 to 30 comic arc or whatever. But yeah, I don't agree with the way the television structure. Here we are talking about this already.
Yeah.
But I just don't agree with how they have to have a connection and a big bad. They can't do Creature of the Week, which I think if they did a weekly series, which is actually back on the whole thing about binge watching, yada yada. But I think if you wanted to make a comic book movie, it needs to be more or a comic book show could be more comic book like and just run weekly. As a weekly episode. But anyway.
Well, I mean, and also I'll add to that, like, I get tired of seeing them punch stuff. When you introduced Iron Fist, you already have Luke Cage, who's a man, like the concrete skin shit. All of them do is punch shit.
Yeah.
That's all of them do. Like, there's not a lot of complexity to it. Iron Fist is the worst of the 3 that I just named.
Yeah.
Because Luke Cage is more fun and Daredevil's just more cool than Iron Fist. Mm-hmm. But either way, it's an okay show. For anybody who's interested in the Marvel Universe on Netflix, it's worth watching. But, so what is your fun fact of the week?
My fun fact of the week is I recently learned that what you think of as the most lethal hunters in the animal kingdom aren't. You think lethal hunters, you think shark, you think, big cats, bears.
Hey, my heart was broken when I found out that killer whales hunted great whites and killed them. Because here I was thinking great whites are the apex predator of the ocean.
Well, they are by themselves, but they can't handle a group.
Yeah, no. I mean, a killer whale can take a chomp out of a great white and it's just dead. Like killer whales hunt them. Like that's just.
Well, they do.
Like so, watch as a kid watching Shark Week.
Though. They hunt in packs. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but
yeah. So yeah.
No, basically, I'm not going to bore you with it. There'll be a link to the video that really talks the most about it on SciShow or whatever in the comments. But the one that gets me in is like the ones that get me are like the number 2 one is a dragonfly. That little son of a bitch hasn't changed for like millions of years, and it can fly at 35 miles per hour. It can track. It has those multifaceted eyes that actually have different light frequencies up top that basically has more blue frequencies so they can see things above it without getting lost in the sky. And they actually have the ability to predict where their prey will go. Like once they find a prey, they will lock onto it, they'll focus on it. And while it's flying, they'll fly after it and they'll fly intercept courses to predict where it's going to be and catch it. And they have like a freaking 90% like kill rate.
Jesus Christ!
So if a dragonfly is after you, and obviously it won't kill a human, but if it was big enough and it came after you, there's a 95% chance you lose. Yeah, so that's interesting. Now,
tell us who number 1 is, because we'll put the video in the show notes. Everybody should watch it.
So number 1 is leatherback sea turtles.
What?
Yep, they are the number 1. They have 100% success rate with hunting their prey.
What do?
They eat jellyfish.
Oh, the fuck?
Exactly. They don't move. They just eat them.
Yeah.
That was actually the video. I'm like, well, that was kind of a letdown. You go from dragonfly, which are hunting and searching, to giant sea turtles that just eat jellyfish that don't move. The upside is they're thick leather skin, doesn't let them get stung, this, that, and the other. But jellyfish, obviously, they just don't move. It's like, I'm a jellyfish. I have no brains.
They're just this giant entity.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
know. The
know.
cool thing about jellyfish, and we'll get into that at some point, maybe, jellyfish in Portuguese Man of War is they're a multi-celled organism. So they're a cooperative collective of
they say one jellyfish is related to all jellyfish. Like, they are one collective species, and that's fucking
there are actually
weird.
Jellyfish that are immortal.
Yeah,
they live forever.
They can't die.
Yeah.
Jellyfish and octopus, man, they're mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of scientists still say octopus are aliens. Like, they did not come from this planet.
The meteors.
But no, that's fucking cool. No, we should talk about that, because that shit's cool at some point. My fact is I'm sticking with artificial intelligence. And this blows my mind. I can't even picture it. But my fun fact comes from arguably the greatest action movie ever made. Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yes, like that's what you should think. When you hear T2, you should either think Arnold or you should think that. So anyway, we all know Robert Patrick played T-1000, and he was perfect. So what's weird is they did not want him originally.
He was unknown at the time.
Yeah, he was, but that's why I'm saying now it's hard for me to look back. He embodied it. That's like somebody saying Stallone shouldn't have been Rocky. Like, I can't not think of that. So anyway, they wanted Billy Idol.
Wow.
They wanted Billy Idol to play T-1000. When Robert Patrick went in... With the
smear and the...
I don't know what they would have done, made him look like, but when Robert Patrick went in, he said he saw Idol's image and all that on the storyboards. The only reason it did not work out... Now, I have to hope that it wouldn't have worked out, because they would have got him in there, and James Cameron would have been like, what the fuck have I done? I'm going to cancel all
James
this.
Cameron,
We're going to get...
I'm James Cameron.
Not.
We're going with it anyway.
Which maybe he was different in the 90s. But,
he was a little bit different.
But anyway, the only reason it didn't work out is because he was in a motorcycle accident. Which also explains why when he played Morrison's friend in the 90s movies on the Doors, he used a cane. Is because he was injured.
He still walks with a cane.
Thought that was interesting.
I knew about the motorcycle wreck, and I knew he walked with a cane ever since. It basically just completely fucked up his leg. But I did not know that motorcycle wreck cost him the role in T2.
That's what I read, yeah. So, but I also want to introduce one thing called bonus fact. This is cool. This is only for you hardcore fans out there. I'm about to tie two of the greatest movies ever made together. Predator and T2.
Okay.
There is a scene in Predator that I know you will remember, because everyone should, when Jesse Ventura, obviously the guy that said, I ain't got time to bleed. One of the greatest lines ever uttered on TV or on a movie. You remember when he has the giant machine gun and he's tearing up the jungle with it?
Yeah. That
machine gun is the same prop machine gun that Arnold used to shoot at the cops in T2.
Yeah, I recognize
that is insane. Like, it may be small,
I knew it was a chain-fed portable minigun or Gatling gun or whatever.
But just knowing it's the same prop in two of the greatest action movies ever made.
Yeah.
With this, I mean, I know Jesse Ventura wielded it, but like in this, as the same badass Arnold, in both of those. So that is your bonus fact.
He basically probably saw Jesse Ventura wielding and was like, I should be wielding that. I am the star of the show. So when he was the star of the show, he's like, get me that gun.
You know what? Shit,
I'm gonna Arnold impersonation.
I'm gonna give you another bonus fact, just real quick before we wrap it up. Jesse Ventura and Arnold Schwarzenegger were in 2 movies together in the same year, and they both went on to be governors of different states. Obviously,
that's true.
I thought that was interesting.
Different parties too, weren't they?
Were they? I don't fucking know. I know both of them were terrible governors. That's all I know.
Yeah, one of them's still a terrible person. I'll let you figure out which one it is.
Anyway, guys, you got anything else?
No, I think my brain is empty.
Yes, that was a fun conversation. So, guys, thanks for listening. Make sure you check us out, Instagram, our website, SoundCloud. And, we'll put the show notes up. And if you guys are curious about any of the links or anything, feel free to check them out. And also to check out Steven's list of awesome Predators.
Yes.
So, thanks for listening, guys. You have a great night.
Yep. Take care out there.